How many of you, instead of talking to 10 people, would rather talk to 10 highly qualified, highly motivated buyers or sellers? Would that be beneficial if you left here with that? So we're going to add on top of that, and I'm going to talk about your ideal client profile. But before we get into it, people don't know a lot of times we don't even know we have a problem. Life is good, real estate is hard, challenging, difficult. Everybody works 7 days a week, nights, weekends, and holidays, and that's just the way it's going to be. And when new agents go to a different company, a traditional company like Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, Remax, Century 21, they're told by their sales manager, hang in there, it's going to take some time. How many agents do we have? I met a bunch of you that are brand new licensees. How many of you have been in the business less than 3 years? I'm really excited for you. You can sell 5 homes next month. What do you need to sell 5 homes next month? You need at least 5 motivated individuals, right? So we'll talk about that, but what makes this different is I've actually done it. I've been through it. As I shared with you, 1989. Longer than some of you have been born. I want you to take this away. Most people in the industry, would you agree, are good people? Okay, most people are good people. They're nice, they're kind, they're personable. I want you to make a decision today, and I'm not joking around. I am not here to fool around. You no longer win based on personality. It's not enough. You know, hope is not a strategy. I am not interested in throwing more shit against the wall, hoping some of it sticks. Although that does work. Right? If you throw enough shit against the wall, if you generate 100 contacts, and you're out there shaking hands, kissing babies, being part of all these groups, that's all great. But hope isn't a strategy. And I don't want you to build your business based on hope. I don't want you to flush good money down the toilet. You know, there's something to be said for branding and promoting yourself. But every person in your market knows at least one realtor. I did a survey with a coaching client the other day. I want you to really think about this. A survey with a coaching client the other day who was a new agent. And I said, I want you to go to Whole Foods in your market. The grocery store, do you have those down here? So good high-end grocery store. And I want you to stand outside, and I want you to just introduce yourself without telling people you're a realtor, and ask people as they come out, just go, hi, my name's Joe. I was just wondering if you could recommend a real estate agent. Out of 100 people surveyed, 50 of them could name 3. Another third could name 2, and everybody else named 1. Nobody out of 100 said, don't know. So do you understand the problem we have? Our industry is like cockroaches in New York City. They're everywhere. So you've got to differentiate yourself. And when you do, you get all the marbles. But I didn't know that when I got into the business. I just worked hard. 42 sales, made $250,000, but I was losing money. It was 1994, I'm in trouble with the IRS, can't pay my bills. I get set up on a blind date with a beautiful woman. This lady right here, with the sunglasses on. Her name's Janet. We go out and I'm like, you're a special human being. And I wasn't looking to be in a relationship. I was going to be single for the rest of my life because I didn't have good role models growing up. I mean, I loved my mom and I loved my dad, but they didn't love each other. So I didn't know. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to get into a relationship where people are bickering and fighting all the time? So I was just going to be single my whole life and work really hard, make lots of money and travel the world. That was my dream. But I meet this lady, and she was special. And I knew that she could be the one. I didn't have much money. I remember one day, it was her birthday was coming up in April. And maybe you guys and gals can relate to this story in some way. Her birthday was April 6th. It was middle of March. And I said, honey, we're dating for a few months. And I go, what would you like for your birthday? And she goes, I would like you. I said, what do you mean? Do you want to go somewhere? She goes, no, I just want you. You work 7 days a week. You're never around. You're always on the phone. I just want you to shut it down for a weekend. Can you do that for me, Brian? I'm like, of course I can do that for you. She goes, great. We'll go down to the Cape. I know money's a little bit tight. I know a little bit about your situation. So we'll go to the Cape. My mom and dad will take us out to dinner. It won't cost you any money. And I'm like, I'm in. So we plan this weeks in advance. And she's excited that I'm going to dedicate a weekend and shut the business down. My average sales price in 1994 is about $95,000. And I get a phone call from the Johnsons in Denver, Colorado, who are orthopedic surgeons, and the husband just accepted the head orthopedic position at Memorial Hospital in Nashua, New Hampshire. And I'm talking to him on the phone, and guess what weekend they're coming in? And guess what price range they're looking at? $600,000. That's like 6 sales. And guess who orthopedic surgeons hang around with? Holy shit. This is the jackpot. I just won the mother lode. How many of you can relate? Feel me. So I tiptoe to Janet and I go, honey, got a call from the Johnsons. Can we reschedule the weekend that we're going to the Cape? She goes, Brian, we can't. We're going down with my sister, her kids. My parents took time off, but I understand. I'm like, thanks. So I'm talking with the Johnsons, and I send them to my lender. I was telling Jeff about this. I send them to my lender. My lender goes, Brian, they get an 800 credit score. They could pay cash for their house. They're set. Here's your pre-approval. Great. I start sending them listings. How many of us have ever done this? We get a buyer that we've never met, and we send them to our lender. They get pre-approved. Does their motivation to buy go down, or does it go up? It goes up, but I'm a kid. I'm not thinking about all this. So their motivation to buy goes up. I'm sending them listings, and I am not going to let these buyers get away from me. I even tell them I will pick them up at the airport and bring them to their hotel. Because I'm desperate, I'm broke. So I'm going to provide great service. I'm going to be the taxi driver. I drive an hour from my home in New Hampshire. Janet's down at the Cape. I'm so excited. I've got the money spent already. $600,000, I'm calculating my commissions. This is going to get me out of the hole. I'm at Logan Airport at the terminal. They're not there. Where are the Johnsons? Are you shitting me? I took the weekend off. Bastards. No call, nothing. I call my lender. Hey, Tom, how's it going with the Johnsons? You pre-approved them? Have you heard from them? He goes, Brian, they're all set. They're in underwriting. I said, what do you mean underwriting? Oh, yeah, they bought 6 Mosswood Circle. I go, are you effing kidding me? That's the listing I paired them up with. I sent them that listing. They came in earlier. They were pre-approved. They decided not to call me. Now, do you think they were malicious? Do you think that they are like, well, screw Brian, we're going to go behind his back? Or do you think that they just drove by the property, which is what likely happened, and instead of calling me, they called the woman on the sign? Wait, it's gotten quiet in here awfully quick, hasn't it? Who in this room has this happened to besides me? What's the definition of insanity, Johnny? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I got pissed. But not at the Johnsons, at myself for being so stupid, for not articulating my value, not doing what I did on the listing side of the business. And I went back to my conference room because Cape Cod is 2 hours away. The party had already started. It was too late. And I said, I was telling somebody at the break, I said, if I'm going to stay in real estate, I'm not doing it that way. I'm not an effing tour guide. How many of you want to get paid for what you do? Not everybody? Just checking. So I said, enough is enough. I'm done, no more. Tony Robbins taught me the quality of your life is in direct proportion to your standards. Said differently, when you raise your standards, you raise your quality of life. What does it mean to raise your standards when you say no more? Anybody besides me prior to Janet ever been in a toxic relationship? And finally you go, no more? And the quality of your life gets better in an instant. Well, I just said no more working, being pulled by buyers, having them call me and having them dictate how it was going to go. So I went to my office. I've made all the mistakes. And I also learned, I whiteboarded this whole process out. But I'm going to share with you something that's really, really important. There's two things that are going to be required for you rookies to succeed. You're going to need motivation and you're going to need skill. How many of you agree that they're both important? To success in anything, they're important. How many of you are not sure? How many of you won't raise your hands no matter what I say? Skill and motivation. But by a show of hands, which is more important? How many say motivation? Look around, hold your hands up nice and high. How many say skill? Interesting. I thought that too. Was I not motivated? Is that why I was failing? I want you to think about this. Well, let's take our real estate hats off for a second. Let's pretend we have 8 minutes to deactivate this bomb. The doors are barricaded shut. We can't get out. Sir, do you pull the red wire, the blue wire, the yellow wire? How many of you think in this example, skill is more important? Deactivating a bomb is a skill, and it would be helpful to have that skill in this situation. Want to go skydiving with me? I've been twice. The guy on my back, hey, have you ever done this before? Nope, it's my first time. Could you imagine? How many, if you're going to go skydiving, want the guy or the gal on your back to be highly skilled versus motivated? Stock market, could you make money day trading in the stock market? Why don't you? Skill or motivation? I lost $50,000 in a day. Remind me, Jeff, to tell you the Mike Reese story at dinner. $50,000 might cost me 50 grand, but I didn't know what a stop loss was. Lacking that skill cost me $50,000. Was I motivated to lose $50,000? What if I gave you a jet helicopter? Be a pretty cool toy to have. What's more important, motivation or skill? Now let me just share with you what's going on so you understand your own psychology. We have beliefs. You all had beliefs that motivation was more important. A belief is a feeling of certainty about something. And what happens is, even when our beliefs start to get challenged, we hold on to them really tight. And I can tell some of you now are still like, screw you, Brian, motivation's more important. I'm not here to tell you you're mistaken, but I'm saying unfold your arms, open your mind. What's more important to fly this, skill or motivation? Any golfers in the room? How hard is it to hit a golf ball? Really hard. It's not even moving. You know, you got stance, you got weight, you got ball position, you got grip, you got club selection, you got trajectory, distance. How many golfers would like to break 70? Would you like to break 70? Why don't we? Why did Brian Moses fail 5 years in the business? I worked 7 days a week, nights, weekends, and holidays. Found the love of my life. It wasn't because I didn't want to succeed. I was motivated. How did Hayden get to the SEC? You need both. You need motivation and skill. How many motivated quarterbacks are there in the country that don't get to that level? He has an IQ skill set that is one of the best in the nation. He just doesn't have the size. Skill trumps motivation, not even close. Is lead generation a skill? Is lead generation a skill? I can generate 10 buyers, 10 sellers in 24 hours. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to close them. They might have loyalty to their sister, their cousin, the three people they know. But how many think that that would be a good skill to acquire in real estate? To get buyers and sellers to call you and have such a good skill set in differentiating yourself that they'll leave a message on your phone and not call a competitor. That's a skill. So I just want to open your eyes to a whole nother possibility. It's time to get paid, people. I'm tired of seeing my colleagues work for free. I hear it all the time. Dream big. So I dreamt big. I'm sitting in my conference room and I'm like, if I'm ever going to do this again, it's going to be my way. And I started to look at things differently. What do you see when you look at this? I'm sorry? A young woman. How many of you see the young woman? How many of you see the old woman? How many of you do not see a young woman and an old woman? They're both here. There's an old woman in this image and a young woman. How many of you see both? But see, once we get locked in on one way of looking at things, it's very hard to see the other way. Very, very difficult. So we stepped back and I started to whiteboard things, and I wanted to change the way buyers went about doing business with real estate agents. I had heard about this thing in the 90s called buyer agency, where buyers could sign a fiduciary agreement with an agent. I took a course, but really didn't understand it all. But after this incident with the Johnsons, I'm sitting and I go, what are all the things I want to have happen with a buyer? How many of you would like your buyers to listen to you? Respect you? I don't give gifts, they give me gifts. That's a different twist. Be appreciated, to be valued, have a commitment with you, work around your schedule. How many of you would like that? See, you have to dream big. You have to say, what is it that you want? Be the obvious choice. I wanted to be able to teach others to do this as well. Have a predictable, duplicatable business. So you have to envision it first. Can you all envision a life working with buyers like that? Wouldn't that be amazing? I'm telling you, it exists. Jeff knows it exists. He's experienced it. So we need to stand out. So I started writing out all the things that went on in a real estate transaction. Not just the things I did, but everything that I facilitated in a transaction. And then I went through it with a highlighter. I found this off the internet. This is not my actual whiteboard, but it's the closest image I could get. And I mapped out the process that Jeff showed you this morning, the 10-step process with buyers. Mine wasn't so pretty, Jeff. You've done an amazing job. So I map it out right down to when I first speak to a buyer, what do I say? What are the 4 most compelling offers I can make? What is it that they want? I did a survey and found out that I found out what the majority of buyers who had closed on a real estate transaction, this is a great question for AI, for ChatGPT. Hey, what's most important to a buyer who buys a home? When I did this survey, we didn't have ChatGPT. I had to actually pay a third-party company to do it. We found that buyers like selection. They like to get a good deal. They like to minimize their expenses. They're budget conscious. So selection, get a good deal, and they want convenience. That's the third thing they want. So how many think we should create a process where we articulate that? Selection, get a good deal, and it's convenient? So I did that, and then what I learned is that when you connect the dots and you do the right thing in the right order, our industry does the right thing sometimes at the wrong time. I love what Johnny said. I think it was Johnny or Jeff. Somebody comes into an open house. What does the industry do? I need you to sign in. It's the right thing. We need their contact information. It's the wrong time. Does that make sense? So we created the right thing in the right order, and we just connect the dots, and then we teach agents how to do it. So here's my buyer process. Okay, we get a lead. We need to speak to that lead. I don't want to text them. People go, Brian, they don't answer their phone. Bullshit. I get 65% of every lead that I generate to answer the phone. Don't call them at 9 o'clock when they're at work. Stagger the times of your day. Double dial. We have strategies to increase our reach. We make a compelling offer. We book a face-to-face appointment at my office. Buyer says, I want to see this house. Can you show it to me? I'd be happy to. Are you open to seeing other great deals in the Charleston area, or are you only looking at that house? Well, we just want to see that house. No problem. I'm happy to show it to you. The reason I ask is because most buyers I talk to want to get a great deal. Is getting a good deal important to you, Mr. Buyer? Well, yeah, of course, but we just want to see that house. Well, the reason I ask is I have a proprietary system that accesses all of our inventory, and sometimes I can find and locate other property that might even be a better deal for you. Would that be useful? It's all about making offers, and I know that real buyers want selection. So I'm highly skilled at being able to book an appointment with somebody who calls on a property or who's an internet lead. And if they say, well, we're just in the early stages, no problem. The best time to start is now, where there's no pressure. So I have a response for everything. And just like my son practices throwing a football, I practice my buyer presentation. I practice my handling objections. Hey, interest rates are 7%. How many of you have heard that in the last few months? Even today, there's still buyers waiting for them to go lower. True or false? And Jeff had a great rebuttal. But how's this one? Hey, well, how much are you looking to, how much more per month is this house costing you at today's rate versus the rate you want? Well, I don't know. Well, let's calculate it. $1 million mortgage, 2% lower, maybe you're saving $300 a month. What's 12 months of $300? $3,600. So I understand $3,600 is a lot. How much are properties appreciating in Charleston right now? 6% a year. So your house is going to be worth $1,060,000 next year. So you're foregoing $60,000 in equity to save $3,600. Does that make a lot of sense? Is that a skill or is that motivation? So if you want to make lots of money, I think Jeff said it, sharpen the axe. So lead gen is a skill. This is my favorite restaurant in the country, Skull's Rainbow Room in Nashville. When you all come and tailgate with me, make sure you make a reservation there. But how many of you have a favorite restaurant? Do they offer you a menu about what options are available at that restaurant? Jeff has put together a menu of benefits and programs and services for you to offer buyers. It's incredible. But most real estate agents don't make any offers. So you want to make those offers super compelling, super irresistible, super sexy, talk about savings and benefits. Let me just, so I have a script there, and I've written it out, and I've recorded it, and I've practiced it, and I've written it out, and recorded it, and practiced it. Do you know my family, my wife and my 2 boys know that script from just being around me in my real estate career? They'd mock me. Janet used to mock me. Hey, at our office, we've got this proprietary, and I'd be like, stop it, I'm trying to convert this buyer to an appointment. Okay, so we book the appointment. Now, Jeff shared with me that this isn't new in South Carolina. You guys have been required to sign buyers-to-buyer contracts. And maybe you're going, hey, Brian, we've been doing this. And I said, well, Jeff, let's be honest. Is there a significant percentage of agents in South Carolina signing the buyer to the agreement right before they make the offer? And he said, oh, yeah. How many of you would like to have a commitment from the buyer before you ever do anything with them? That requires a decision. That requires an open mind. I'm here to tell you it's possible. 3,500 closings prove that it's possible. So let me give you some tidbits. So I envisioned what I wanted my business to look like. I envisioned doing buyer appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays because rarely, it does happen, and I can speed up my process, but rarely does a buyer call me and buy a house the same day. Would you guys agree with that? It's a 2 to 3 month window, maybe a 6-month window, maybe a 9-month window, as Jeff said earlier. So there's no urgency for me to hop out of my chair and run out and show them a house that they're not going to buy anyway. And generally, when you show them the house, exclusive of the super outrageous hot markets that we've experienced, where buyers would buy anything to put a roof over their head, but that's not a normal market. In a normal market, you show them the house and there's something, it's not the right house. So you end up showing them more. So why don't you offer them more on the front end? So on Tuesdays and Thursdays in 1995, 1 year following me being dead broke, this is what my conference room looked like. And I would book appointments to come on Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoon, and I wish I knew that I'd be here today because I would have taken a picture of my lobby with people standing waiting for me. Because my offer on the phone was so compelling and irresistible. Can you make your offer on the phone compelling and irresistible? What types of homes do you have? How many of you have access to the MLS? Okay, so what goes into the MLS? Everything. And we cooperate. If a buyer says, hey, do you have any 4-bedroom homes in North Charleston? And I have 0 listings because I'm brand new, I don't say, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you, do you? Or do you say, I'm happy to show you all the 4-bedroom homes? Is getting a good deal important to you? Because I have a database that will give you access to all the amazing deals that match your specific criteria, with interior, exterior pictures, days on market, and other useful seller information. Would that be helpful? Well, we're just in the early stages, and we got somebody who's kind of a friend of a family. I hear this shit too. Your market's no different than mine, except that you've got palm trees and nicer weather. But buyers in New Hampshire want the same thing that buyers in South Carolina want, in Texas want, in California want, in Hawaii, in Idaho. They want selection. They want a good deal. And then I go, we have access occasionally to bank foreclosures. You do? Yeah, and we have access to homes where sellers are highly motivated because they're going through a divorce and they're forced to sell because of the courts. We have access to probates and estate properties, which sometimes represent a good value. Are you interested in seeing all the properties that match your specific criteria? What do you think the answer is, gang? I remember buying my first luxury automobile. And I saw it online, and I called the dealer, and I said, is it still available? And he said, yes, come on down, take a look at it. I get in my car, I drive down, I walk in the showroom, I forgot the guy's name. He didn't do a really great job of converting me to the appointment. He just says, come on down, take a look at it. There's 20 salespeople. I walk in, this little kid comes up to me and he goes, hey, are you looking or are you buying? Excuse me? It starts with looking. It starts with looking. Don't talk to buyers about buying. Talk to them about looking and watch what happens to your conversion. Wicked, less threatening. So I go, I don't know, I'm looking. He goes, well, go ahead and look around. I'll be over here. I go, all right. Another gentleman comes up to me and he goes, hi, my name's so-and-so. Is there any particular make, model that you're interested in? I tell him. He goes, oh yeah, that car's over here. I can show it to you. But we also have 6 others that just came off the truck, some with low miles, like 1,000 miles, that are priced significantly below MSRP. Would you like to see those too? What do you think I said? He made me an offer. When a waiter or waitress says, can I offer you a menu, what do you say? Hey, would you like to hear our specials? What do you say? Our industry doesn't make offers. Start making offers, change your life. So I made offers, people would come to my office. I'd qualify those appointments. I didn't send them to my lender anymore. Little variation. But I would qualify them to expose any red flags. If there was a red flag, I wouldn't send them to my lender. I wouldn't send them to Sarah. I'd ask them, where do you do your banking? Like, if I talk to somebody and I go, hey, do you have any concerns about your ability to obtain financing? Well, yeah, I'm self-employed. I've got bad credit. I filed bankruptcy 6 months ago. I'm unemployed now. Is that a red flag? Sounds like Sarah could do that deal, though. So I would say, sounds, I'd cancel the appointment. I'd say, why don't we pump the brakes on our appointment for Tuesday? Where do you do your banking? Oh, I do my banking at my credit union. Call your credit union. They have a real estate division. Ask them for a pre-approval. And when you get pre-approved, give me a call back. So I would nothing worse than giving your bum leads to your great lenders. That's awful, right? So I'd send them that way, and they'd never call me back because the red flags were exposed. So I'd meet with the buyers. I'd do a buyer consult. And I went from 42 to 108 transactions. Is that a significant jump, leap? I then trained this system to my team, and they would sell 4, 5, 6, 7 homes a year. Jeff knows a couple of my team members. He's met them at conferences. No real estate experience whatsoever. Just do this in this order, first, second, third, fourth, say this when they say that, develop a proficiency, practice, study it, just like, how many think Hayden threw a football today? They're playing Alabama in 2 weeks. You think he threw a football? Think he watched film? They practice 50 hours a week for a 1 2-hour game on the weekends. How much time are you practicing? Jeff does training. You're so fortunate. Are you getting value out of this? This is so awesome to have you here. Like, you guys are the winners. So, huge growth. It's possible. Somebody found this on the internet. I was teaching this to Craig Proctor, the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world. I was working with his team in Toronto, Canada, where he flew me up. That's a few years ago. And he'd be like, hey guys, you gotta watch how Brian does this. He doesn't screw around anymore. No more screwing around. So I did the training. So the buyers come in, I book the appointment, and I would say, tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. You guys all do that, right? So they tell me what they're looking for. And I'd play with them like a cat plays with a mouse. And this whole game would take 15 minutes at the most. So I'd be like, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, North Charleston, garage, anything else? They'd be like, nope, that's it. I go, What about school systems? What about other areas? Are you open to Mount Pleasant? Are you open to these other areas? No, I just want that. What about, do you guys have heat down here, furnaces? Or am I too far south? So in New Hampshire, I'd say, you know, forced hot air, forced hot water. Do you care if it's electric heat? Because electric heat in New Hampshire is very expensive. And they'd go, oh no, we don't want electric. Okay, if it had the ability to be, and I would just play with them to demonstrate that I know more about searching for a home than they did. So I want you all to do that. And this is called vesting. I've had lots of training, hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop my skills. It's called vesting. The more vested you get your prospect in at the meeting, the higher the probability is they are to work with you. And it's not about, oh, you like bowling? I see that you like bowling. No, not that shit. It's about skills. So tell me about what you're looking for. So we would do all that. And then I would say, I would eventually pull, oops, let me go to yellow. Yellow. I would eventually go to making them offers. So I want you to take a screenshot of this. So I would say to the buyer, Jeff, this is new and improved and dialed in, and I wasn't even doing it like this back then, and we still crushed it. But today it would be not even fair to the competition. So I would say there's two sides to a real estate transaction. There's the listing side and the buyer side. Just like in a courtroom, there's the prosecution and the defense. Listing agent works for the seller, buyer agent works for you. But let me explain what that means. Now, back then, I anticipated this day where we would have to articulate our worth. Who's ever been to a closing where the buyer looks at the settlement sheet, looks at their spouse, looks at the settlement sheet, and then looks up at you in disdain? Anybody ever experienced that? Because you made 30 grand, or so they think? So who thinks that it would be valuable to articulate more than $30,000, $50,000 in value in working with me? You ever run into somebody who has a cousin who's a real estate agent or a friend who's a real estate agent? Well, if you can articulate how you can save them $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 and have our fee come from the proceeds of sales so that there's little or no out-of-pocket expense, do you think they'd be all in with you? And they'd kick their cousin to the curb? That's a life worth having. So let me give you a few nuggets of how I articulate that value. And you only need 3, really, to win the buyer. You only need 3. Anybody ever been to a carnival? And you know, you take the sledgehammer, you hit the pad, and the ball goes up, rings the bell. And when you ring the bell one time, you get a key ring. You know what I'm talking about? You do it again, you get anything off the second row. You do it 3 times, what do you get, ladies and gentlemen? Choice off the top row. You ring the bell 3 times in a buyer presentation, they sign the buyer agreement every single time. So one of the things that we do to best represent our buyer is we minimize your expenses in the transaction. You know, buying a home is more than just the sales price. You have mortgage expenses, you have home inspections, you have appraisal, you have title. True or false, gang? So back when I wrote down everything that happened in a real estate transaction, I now take credit for them, and I tell the buyer that I help them minimize their expenses in the transaction. Don't you all do that? How many of you help the buyer find a lender? Help the buyer find a home inspector? But do you not take credit for it? So watch how I do it. I go, so we work with some approved and vetted mortgage affiliates. They specialize in real estate financing. They don't do credit cards, they don't do auto loans, and do you know what that means? They have hundreds of programs specific to real estate. And I even took a screenshot of Sarah's sheet today. VA, FHA, all the different, it's on my phone, but I would list out all the different types of programs. Self-employed, no doc, no income verification, jumbo loans. We have access to all of them. And many times, our approved and vetted affiliates are better priced and more competitive than other industry lenders or your credit union? And do you know that even 0.1% over the life of a loan on $1 million mortgage is over a couple $100,000 in savings? So do you want to work with Quicken Loans? Do you want to work with your credit union, which you told me on the phone you were pre-approved with? Or are you open to these types of savings? Closing costs are less than most other competitors by the tune of $3,000 to $5,000. Notice I'm not saying you're getting the lowest rate or you're getting the lowest cost. I'm saying in comparison to others, those are the costs you'll save. Are you starting to see? I got you. Are you starting to see? I thought I had till 5, no? Okay, Jeff says I can go. Are you guys getting value out of this? I'll go as fast as I can. I'm thirsty too. Are you guys coming to the cocktail hour? All right, let's chat it up. So I would say another thing that we'll do is we'll offer you a home warranty. We'll offer it to you. I'm not saying I'm paying for it. I'm not saying the seller will pay for it. There's many ways we can get it paid for, but I'm going to offer it to you and make it available to you, Mr. Buyer, because many times in the first year of home ownership, that's when shit hits the fan. So for a small deductible and a small investment, you're covered if the well goes, the furnace goes, the air conditioner, the compressor goes, which can be tens of thousands of dollars. So for a small investment, it's an added insurance policy. How many of you recommend plumbers, electricians, painters, roofers to people? Am I not doing a good job? Are you sleeping? This is important, gang. How many of you have recommended contractors to your buyers? Now watch this. How many of you have not monetized the value of that benefit in that referral? So I say, we have an approved, vetted contractors list. So are you likely to do any work or repairs on your home in the next 5 years? Everybody, what's the answer? Okay, so roofing, windows, siding, painters. We have a list of approved and vetted contractors that don't show up, ask for a 50% deposit, and then disappear. Is there value in that, gang? So I have a whole list of things that monetize and save the buyer's money. Your job is to create that. And then I want you to say, are you starting to see that there's a lot more to finding the right house at the best price and minimizing your expenses in the process than just working with any random agent you met? Can I share with you how we get paid? Any questions on that? That's like game over, game, set, and match. So we sign them up to a buyer agency agreement. We have strategies to get their offer accepted, like Jeff does. This is really big and really important. How do real estate agents get paid? So can I tell you how we get paid? Generally, we get paid from the proceeds of the sale. And like Jeff articulated so brilliantly this morning, you're going to give us permission through our buyer agency agreement to negotiate to get paid through the proceeds of sale. Or you could pay for it outside, or we can do a combination of the two. But we get paid from the proceeds of sale, and it affects the seller's net and the buyer's gross. Real estate fees are not free to anybody. This was my buyer agency agreement back in the day. Nobody was even doing it, so I just did a one-pager. But what's so awesome today, I want you to really understand it. Thank you, DOJ. They've put everybody on an even playing field. It's awesome. It's unbelievable. So now we sign them to an exclusive buyer-broker agreement. I'm licensed in New Hampshire. I coach some of the best agents in North America. What is your fee? How many of you know what you're worth on the listing site? How many of you have been in the business for more than a year and are pissed off when in the past the compensation was less than you feel you're worth? That's over now. Do you know all the money that I save the buyers, all the money that I save my sellers, all the value that I give, I'm going to charge more for it. How many of you have ever sold a listing over list price? and didn't charge more for that? Doesn't make sense. So here's an example of a buyer agency exclusive listing agreement that was just done with an agent in New Hampshire on August 16, 2024. Seller's side of the commission, and I'm not telling you what to charge. I'm not going down that road. This is negotiable and you can charge what you're worth. But I believe I'm worth more than the average agent who just got their license. I believe that if I'm at Jeff Cook's company, I'm worth more because of this entire organization. Because of having Sarah on the mortgage side. They just switched their whole mortgage side because there's more value. So if I can list a property and tell them my fee is 4%, for example, and I get to this and I go, now we can cooperate with other brokers or we cannot cooperate with other brokers. Price is a function of supply and demand. The more demand you get, the better price you'll receive. Do you want to cooperate with other brokers? It's going to cost somewhere between 2 and 3% in the proceeds of the sale, but it'll drive up demand. You know what the seller said? Because I went on this appointment with my client. I said, our fee on the listing side is 4%. He goes, wow, that's a deal. Like, you bet it is. And then we talked about, because he was thinking the totality. But watch this. We just closed on this. So it sold for $500,000. It was listed for $474,900. We set a record in the subdivision because price is a function of supply and demand. We too have an open house program on steroids, generated multiple offers, generated a cash deal with no inspections, no contingencies. Seller thinks I'm a hero at 4%. He got $25,000 more. We managed his expectation that he should be prepared to pay 2 to 3% to cooperate. The buyer broker, it's right, top right. Oh yeah, right here. The buyer broker signed their buyer up for 2%. I saved them another 1%, another 5% on what he was expecting to get. He made $30,000 more. Am I not worth 1% more than what Keller Williams or Caldwell Banker might charge? He's a raving fan. Then we signed him up to a buyer agreement. Now you're free to charge what you want, but I'm not working for free. I know what I'm worth. I know how much money I'm going to save him. I know how I'm going to help him pay his mortgage down faster without having to reach into his pocket. So I'm going to add value, and I'm going to explain that real estate agents get paid out of the proceeds of sale. So I got to hustle now. We're going to drink in a few minutes. People always ask me, so I'll just answer it now. Hey, Brian, let me skip this part. We can talk about this another time. Give people what they want, and they'll eat out of your hand. I was going to show you this. So we were talking about Sunday tour. I thought I'd have some extra time, but it didn't work out so well. So we would do open houses. We would do a tour of homes every weekend. We'd advertise. We'd make offers. This is a good one I was just sharing with Jeff. Homes sold to the highest bidder instead of open house. Hey, I'm in front of this house. It says home sold to the highest bidder. How does that work? It works great. It's going to be open this weekend for inspection, 12 to 1. Would you like to come see it on Saturday? Did you want to get in earlier? Did you want access to all of our other properties? Offers, offers, offers. At the open house, I'm obnoxious. I've got signs everywhere, offers everywhere. Johnny, QR codes everywhere. Business cards. I agree, business cards, paper business cards are garbage unless you put offers on them. What if you left this at the Chinese restaurant? Might you get some calls? Not only will you get calls, they will leave a message because your competition doesn't know how to respond to these types of offers. So you want to be unique, you want to be compelling. Thinking about buying a house, find out more about our special financing programs. Offers, offers, offers. So after doing this for a while, I'll bring this in for a landing, then we'll bring Jeff up. I've learned that some things work. Everything works, actually, if you do enough of it. A blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. But how many of you are starting to make the shift that skills are more important than motivation? There's 3 simple steps to crushing it in real estate. You need to have skills in lead gen. Jeff does it for you. You're blessed. That is that takes years to master. Lead conversion, that's a skill, and client acquisition. So I coach and train some of North America's most successful agents. I don't have a big coaching company because I'm not a hypocrite. How many of you know big coaching companies that have hundreds of coaches, and if you were to ask them a question about how to do an open house, you'd get 10 different answers from 10 different coaches? That's hypocritical. So I have a good job, I don't have a business, but I've coached more than 20,000 real estate agents now over the course of years, speaking at events like this, all brands, I don't discriminate. And some of you out there might want to coach. So I'll just address it. People pay me $2,000 to $5,000 a month to coach their teams. Why? Because I can get them many multiples in return on their investment. And that's why you're in business. I have no contracts. I don't lock you into anything. And if you're interested in coaching, I'd like to invite you to test drive me. I have an inner circle program. We sell it online. It's $500 a month. And just so that you know, I'm not going to do a hard pitch. This is going to be an offer. If you want in, great. If you don't, no hard feelings. We'll go drink and be friends. I'm not going to pressure you. I don't need to. But we're going to give you everything that I've done over the course of the years, plus the skill building and the training. So we do 2 live calls a month with hundreds of agents from all over the country. We have a library, 3 years of recorded calls. If there's a topic, if you want to improve your psychology and mindset, we have training in there. We have lead gen, lead conversion, buyer presentations, seller presentations, negotiations, handling objections. Everything's in there, and we give it to you. We sell it online for $500 a month. It's a pretty good deal. It's $6,000 a year. How many of you would invest $6,000 to do one deal in Charleston that's $1 million? You make 30 grand on 6,000, that's a pretty good deal. But I wouldn't insult your intelligence and tell you I can only help you sell one house. How about one a month? How about 2 or 3 a month? So we sell it online $500 a month. But you're with Jeff, and if you're interested, I'm not going to charge you that. If you're interested in joining our program today, and there's probably 5 or 6 of you out of 100 that are in, if you make a decision today, because life is about decisions, I'll let you in for $247 a month. That's $3 grand a year. No contracts. You can cancel at any time. You can jump on our calls. You can print out everything in the library and cancel next month if you want. So if you'd like to do that, I have some forms up here, or I'll meet you at the back, and we can chat, and you can enroll, and we'll get you set up. I really appreciate you guys having me here today. I'm on all the social medias. I'd love pictures with you, DMs, and stay in touch with you. Thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it.